All right, hey everybody, welcome to KBN Live, 8:02. We're way ahead of schedule, doing good tonight, so thanks for taking time to jump on here with us. Got my partner up there, Ryan Lambert. I'm Jeff Malott. We're your hosts for the show. I don't want to ever say co-host again. That offended you that one time, Ryan. I don't want to ever do that again.
Thank you.
Yeah, but we're excited to have two awesome guests in here tonight. We've got KBN OG, Kristine Fischer, friend of the program. She's been on here a few times, and then we're proud to welcome Trey Zaldain, Bassmaster Open Pro, in here. We're going to touch on a bunch of I won't say they're difficult issues, but issues would need to be talked about, and go over some stuff that that's been kind of a hot button topic out there for some time. But let's start it off and just say thanks for coming on here and doing this with us, guys.
No problem at all.
Yeah.
Everybody awake?
We're happy to be here.
Get some Red Bulls
Yeah, we're live.
Yeah. So, we talked about having you all on about this topic for a little bit now, and a few weeks ago there was a David Dudley video that dropped, and it was kind of a clickbaity thumbnail and title, but something that got said in there was, is there a barrier to women fishing, or more specifically tournament fishing on the higher levels? And I don't know that there is, but opposite of that, what did you guys face as you got into the competitive part of this sport? Did you face any obstacles? Was there any kind of resistance because you were female anglers trying to get into this?
Go ahead, Trey. Yeah, you go ahead and start on this one.
I don't know. I mean, yes and no, but I think that's for whether you're a guy or a girl. But I think the big thing is, I wouldn't call it obstacles, but you're like a fly in a milk bowl.
We kind of lost your audio there, Trey. Kristine, you want to pick that up?
Yeah, I lost you a little bit there too, Trey. I'll just speak for me. You guys can get her audio figured out. As far as obstacles go, I wouldn't say the only thing that I've ever really struggled with, and this goes for the entirety of my career, and then just working in the fishing, and I worked in the fishing industry for years before I started tournament fishing, was just being taken seriously by people that didn't know me. That was really only the big thing getting into it. But on the kayak side of things, just competing on the level that I compete on, it was just the mere fact of it was difficult to really be taken seriously, and I felt that a lot. I'd have people ask me on the water, like I had a guy at the Seminole tournament that came up and asked me if women were allowed to compete in this tournament, and I was like, yeah, I competed, and he's like, man, things are changing, and I said, yes, they are. It was just little stuff like that. It's really the only. But that's to be expected. I don't think that's necessarily a huge obstacle by any means. But Trey, I'm sure you can probably add to that.
Yeah, totally. What I was saying, and I probably cut out, you're like, when you're the only girl, you're like a fly, in a bowl of milk. You just stick out. So that I want to call it obstacles, but everyone's always like analyzing every little thing you do. So it makes things that normally I don't think the guys like understands. Like you have to be like cognizant of how you do things, and that becomes a little bit of an obstacle, but I kind of agree with Kristine. It's more so that no one takes you seriously at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, financially, it's all the same, right? I mean,
right.
Boats, gear, entry fees, it's all the same. But you guys trying to be taken serious, I guess. People that know you, I mean, Ryan and I, we fish with Kristine many, many times now, and she's taken our money more times than we want to admit. So we don't. It's just an afterthought. We don't even think about that. And there's a lot of other female anglers that do this. Well, not a lot, but a good amount out there doing the same thing. But it's still odd. No, go ahead, Trey. Yeah.
With most guys too, especially in the beginning, they just wanted my number. Right. Or they'd be like, "Hey, you want to go fish?" But it wasn't to actually fish. It was to see if they could get a date out of it.
Slide up in them DMs.
Yeah. It wasn't about fishing.
Oh, smooth.
Always keep your feet covered in every Instagram post.
Oh yeah, I learned my lesson the hard way there. There's some social media brings out the best and worst of people, as we've seen. Wow. Yeah, that's for sure. Like, to add on that, just the other day we were out after the tournament with doing some stuff for Hobie, and it was me and the camera guy in a Hobie kayak, and there was one other, Jody Queen was there. And there were 4 bass boats throughout the day that came up. We were all fishing this little lake in Georgia, and every single one of those boats, they had to go right by me, and they went to either the camera guy who didn't even have a rod in his hands or in his boat, or to Jody and asked them how the fishing was. They passed right by me every single time. And it's little stuff like that. It's like nobody ever asks me when I'm on the water. They don't ask me what the bite is or what's going on. They literally go past me and go to the guy in the kayak and say, hey, how's it been? What are the fish doing? And it's just little stuff like that maybe I just noticed that, and it just, it's been that way forever. And that kind of gets to me sometimes. But I guess that, it is what it is.
Do both of you let that drive you also?
Yeah, I would say for me, like in the beginning, maybe like there's a little chip on my shoulder, a little bit like I felt like an outsider in the beginning. Now I don't, because for me, I think I've gotten over it, and I've gotten comfortable in my own skin enough where I'm just like, whatever, like it just doesn't bother me anymore. But in the beginning, I think I was insecure in my own skill and self a little bit too. And so it really like stuck out to me, like I get offended about everything. Now, now I wouldn't say it motivates me, but maybe back then just to keep going, in the beginning.
Did either one of you have like an aha moment where you felt like you turned the corner in the tournament world, where people are like, yeah, they take me serious now? Like one event, one incident, or just time took care of that? Are you still climbing that? Is it still trying to happen?
In my world, like in the kayak thing, like I don't have any of those issues with any of you guys. I feel like you all know me well. I don't ever have to worry that people don't take me seriously when it comes to that. And I think with more time in the game, for both Trait and I, the more that we put ourselves out there and keep competing and have success, there's always going to be people that just don't know. That's a stereotype it's never going to be eradicated completely, I don't think.
Right.
And I think that's too more the guys that don't fish as much or fish tournaments as much, because the guys who are in this with me every day, like, doesn't bother them at all. They're calling me for information and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's the ones who don't get it, who don't fish the opens, and that they're the ones who are after me the most.
Yeah. Well, I mean.
So how did you get into fishing, Trait? Like how did you get into the tournament scene yourself?
Yeah, I didn't start fishing tournaments till after college. I fished all of my life. My dad fished tournaments. He was the president of the bass club here where I'm from in Fort Worth for the majority of my childhood. But it wasn't until after college. My dad kind of kept me away from tournament fishing because he didn't want me around like the guys in his club. They were a little rowdy. And I get why he did that. I know he kind of regrets it a little bit now, but so when I got out of college and worked in finance, like started fishing, coming around to fishing like more, coming back to it and stuff. And then one day my dad was just like, "Why don't you fish a tournament? Like, let's really see what you can do." I was like, "You know what? Let's go." Sure. And that's kind of where it started, and then it was done. I couldn't stop.
And how long have you been in tournament fishing now, career-wise?
So this is maybe my 7th year in the opens, around there. I try not to keep count because it gets discouraging. So, but I started.
You're still there though. That's good.
Yeah.
You're still grinding.
I started pretty early in my tournament fishing career in the opens, and that may have been a mistake. But it's what I did, and, that's the decision I chose. And back then, maybe I should have made a different choice there, but I didn't. And so it is what it is. I've learned a lot.
We've got Clifton Allen in the comments, Kristine. He said, Kristine taught me not to judge women anglers because her and others would kill me on the water.
Is that like a physical killing?
I don't know. Maybe both.
Well,
Yeah,
probably that too, to be honest with you.
Clifton means it in a literal sense, I'm sure. So thanks, Clifton. Hugs.
So
That's pretty funny.
one of y'all brought up social media a little bit ago, so we want to get to this. This is kind of a touchy subject, but social media, has made fishing very, very popular, I would say. But, the rise.
Yeah.
I mean, here we are on a social media platform doing this little live podcast, but social media has made fishing probably more popular than it's ever been. I don't know, just with all the exposure. But then you've also got a million different people, guys and girls, but girls in kind of a unique way, ladies, trying to kind of cut out a space for themselves, and they're doing it in a variety of ways that, I don't know. Do we agree with that? Do we not? They're coming off like professional anglers, and they're not professionals, claiming to be something they're not, or using methods to gain notoriety that kind of, I hate to say, I wouldn't call them offensive, but they're kind of questionable methods to gain popularity on the fishing scene. So, I mean, what do you guys think about that? Do you think that's a problem? Is it something that is holding women back? I mean, that's a discussion we definitely wanted to have tonight.
Want me to start, or do you want to start?
I see her look on Trade's face. She was ready to say something.
She's ready to chomp at the bit. Go ahead, Trade. I'll follow this one up.
So obviously I have an issue with it to an extent. Like, I'm down for anyone who wants to fish, and I support it. Like, wherever you are a beginner, wherever you are in your career, because I was at that point at some time in my life. But those methods of like pretending you're a professional fisherman, like, I make all of my income endemically, and I make a pretty good living. And I do things but fish. And
Kind of lost your feed there for a second. Start maybe.
Again. Sorry, guys.
Oh, there you're good now. It's just kind of
okay. Yep. So I don't know what y'all heard of that, but I don't care where you're at in your career. Like, more power to you. Like, I've been there. I had to start somewhere. I had to hustle somewhere, but I do get really upset when people go to sponsors and present themselves as females that fish professionally, when half the time they don't even fish tournaments. That does get to me because it's maybe I take it too personal, but I put so much into this, and I don't even call myself a professional angler, and I make a good living endemically, and I would never call myself that, but I'm also married to an elite angler, so maybe that's why. Maybe I'm a little biased and my views skewed, but I get offended when women portray themselves, and I feel like it happens a lot more than it does with a man. Maybe not as someone in the industry. They're not as like a voice of the industry, or like they've done something when no females made the elites, and you don't see, like how are you saying that? That does get to me.
Ryan, we don't have any guys doing that, do we?
Man, scroll through them pro fishing pages real quick.
It does happen on that side too, but it seems like when it's a female, the spotlight shines a little bit more.
A little harder, right? Of flying a bowl of milk.
Yeah,
so
it's easier. It's a lot easier for females to get that attention and the opportunities. I mean, it just is. That's the reality of the game, and kind of things that I've got a problem with. I think it's really tough because how do you address this topic without coming off like you don't support women in fishing? That it's such a tough thing to address and talk about, but it's like when I hear, I've got a gal that reaches out to me and she's like, I literally just taught a woman who's never fished before a vertical jigging class, and she went out and did it with, and then got a jig sponsor the next day, and she's speaking for this company. Or like a huge, one of the biggest names in the industry, one of the industry titan, this company. I know the marketing guy real well, and he reached out to me a couple of months ago, and he's like, man, these women that my company sponsors and were portrayed to me as these quote unquote badass anglers. He's like, I went and fished with them, and he's like, I was appalled. Like not only could they make just like cast, they couldn't talk technique, they couldn't talk skill, they didn't know how to talk about the reels that we're dealing with. And it's like that it makes it so much harder for those that are grinding and trying to be that knowledgeable, that, talented professional angler one day. It's a fine line.
And I'm okay with like girls out there hustling, trying to get sponsors. I'm a big fan of Gary Vee because I feel like I see a lot of things the same way as him. And his big thing is just say your flaws. Just like put them out there. Like what you're not good at, put them out there. And that's how I started off. Like whenever I was going after sponsors, like, look, I haven't done anything. I want to do something, but a lot of women aren't admitting where they are yet. Their position, they're like creating, this fantasy angler. And then there are companies that aren't vetting them. And I think like the companies don't even care. They just want a girl. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and it's like, is that the company's fault? Have the companies, like I just posted this on my Instagram today, has our industry settled because there aren't enough of the caliber of angler that they need? So they're settling for what's there, and a lot of these women are regurgitating this information that's given to them, and it's not everybody can call BS immediately. So does that make women as a whole, does that set them back from being taken seriously, or is it good just to get women out there? It's like, what is it?
That's the debate, right? Like
that is the debate.
Want girls out there because it's good. It's good to have a girl there,
We're kind of losing our audio again. But going back to that David Dudley video, why aren't there more?
Y'all just froze.
Why aren't there more women
Like, why aren't there more real anglers? Why is there such a small percentage of women anglers that take it seriously like y'all do?
I think there's an intimidation factor. I think that goes more than just fishing. And it's like most women, it's just how you're raised and stuff, like big equipment, things like that. You're taught like a man does that, or you need help doing that. And so it's like almost ingrained that fishing's something you need someone to help you do. And it's not right, but that's just the way it is.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right, because I'm sure like Trey's the same way. I was raised very differently than a lot of people out there. Very differently. I was very independent. I did a lot of the stuff on my own, and my parents kind of brought me up a lot differently than people are brought up. And I think that kind of contributes to my drive and there's nothing in my mind that I can't do. And I think for a lot of women, intimidation, like Trey said, I mean, that's huge. Just not feeling that they're confident or that they can do it, or that it wasn't their role type of deal.
And there's a lot of information out there, and it's almost so much like it's overwhelming, and so then it's just easier just to not go fishing,
So do you think, you talk about how people are raised with the kind of culture that kids are raised in now, where a lot of it is iPads and, video games and electronics and indoor stuff. Do you think that's going to impact the industry where there are less girls fishing, or because of the social media and influencers and all this stuff, is this making more girls gravitate toward the outdoor industry, where it's kind of, a novelty item almost, to where these companies are like, oh my gosh, like that's a girl and she can do this? Like, yeah, sure. I don't know how do you see it going? Like, do you think it's positively or negatively impacting the growth of females in the outdoor industry?
I think it's positive. Anytime more women are fishing, it's positive. Like, even when I'm offended by some of the stuff going on social media, it's still positive, right? they care about fishing in some capacity, and that's positive. But I think
do they?
that's another question.
Or is it self gain? I mean, I'm playing devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Do they care about fishing, or is it all about perpetrating self gain and the Insta fame and all this? There's that part of it too. How many, like you said, Trey, if social media was gone tomorrow, how many of those women would be fishing tomorrow? And that is the question.
That is the question, but I think okay, so like, this is like I get in these deep thoughts. So let's say social media, we have all this social media and all those clickbait women, and they're gone tomorrow, but how many people are fishing that we don't see because they were inspired on social media, that they don't want clickbait, and they created an account, they never created an Instagram, but they saw, or they have an Instagram and don't post, but they saw one of our posts and they went fishing, right?
Right.
So I just think, like the fly in the milk thing, that, it's all debate.
This is popular in Texas, isn't it? Flies and milk. I was just in Dallas.
I'm never going to be able to drink milk again, probably.
That's like a favorite phrase,
So there's a couple comments coming through. One of them was Alicia commented and said she was recently passed over for a sponsorship, even though she's a very good, accomplished female angler herself, for somebody that was, she used the word prettier. So she had a different look, even though she was not maybe the same angler that Alicia was.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know the bikini model angler is a problem out there, right?
And it's on the companies, right? One thing I have learned, and me and Kristine have talked about this, is the big companies with the big budgets, they see through that BS. Like, they're not spending on those anglers. They're not spending on many women anglers, period. Mm-hmm. But because they know the game and they don't respect most women, they're very careful in how they do it. So maybe the smaller deals that are there, maybe don't, but bigger companies.
Yeah, we keep losing our audio there. Sorry, Trey.
No worries. My internet's terrible.
Oh,
I live in the boonies.
It's not mine this time? It's awesome. No, we caught the beginning and the end of it, but you're good now.
Okay. I think that a lot of those, what a lot of women don't realize is they get upset when they see these women, and you have to understand, a lot of those women, I would be willing to bet that almost all of the bikini women aren't actually sponsored anglers. They may get like paid endorsements for making a post, but I will about put my life on it that a lot of these women aren't actual paid sponsored anglers. The companies that actually are sponsoring anglers, like Trey said, aren't buying into that kind of stuff at all.
Alicia commented and said, "Very true, Trey. That was a small company that did that." So there you go. Your theory holds true.
Yeah.
James Strawbridge said something that I think might fire Kristine up. He said, "What about the women's bass tour? There was one out there for a while. I was followed it. It was fun. Where is it now?" And I'll tell you right now, I don't think there's a place for that. It doesn't make any sense to me. But what do you guys think about that?
I gotta start with this one, because I initially would have agreed with that. But I had 3 or 4 of the women that competed on that message me today, actually. And the reason that, and I didn't know this, so I'm going to shed some light just briefly. The reason that was, and I do not agree that there was a classic spot that was awarded for 2 years. One of the women, the Angler of the Year, that women's deal. I don't agree with that at all. And I still don't agree with that. I think that's not. I 100% do not agree with the spot being awarded there. But with the LBAA, what that was created was for these women that couldn't compete in the opens or the professional tours because of family, kids, didn't have the money to do it. So it was kind of like a league for these women that I'm trying to remember how it was worded, but it gave me a little bit more insight on it. And it kind of was a family for them, and just a way and an outlet for them to feel like they could. Right. Yeah. So where I think if you want to be a true professional and be, qualified to be a professional angler, you've got to compete against everybody. I do truly believe that. But I also, after having those conversations with these women, see the need for organizations like that as well.
So you're saying that that wasn't set up as a you're not good enough to compete with us thing. It was just an alternative.
Oh,
it was an alternative.
Women's fish, yeah.
Yes.
I have no problem with the LBA either. I've even thought about maybe fishing a tournament here and there when I could. I just have a crazy schedule. Really nice women. Everyone I've ever interacted with has been great.
Yeah, they're great, all of them.
Yeah, but for me, I'm here to make a living, and I got to fish in the opens. That's the biggest platform I can put myself in for my sponsors right now, and that's what I got to do.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So here we're sitting here talking about all this stuff. Is this tough to talk about? Are you guys kind of pressured to leave this alone and not bring this kind of stuff up? Or, how does that go?
Yeah, it's like a taboo topic. Like every time I make a post about this, I'd lose like a ton of followers. People would yell at me. I was like this huge black sheep of the female freaking angling community. It's super tough to talk about.
It's tough because you want women to know that you support women's fishing. It's crazy because I don't want anything to ever happen to women's fishing, and I want to do my best to make sure as many women can have the ability to go fish as possible. But then there are situations that you want to speak up, and if you speak up, then you hate women, and that is not the thing. I don't want women portraying themselves in ways that they aren't. That's my issue. And there's only those, when I say that, but they do it in such big ways that it impacts everybody.
It does. It's tough.
That's sorry kind of our cancel culture. When people get outraged, they start, throwing blanket terms at you. But.
I have a product line that I build for women. All I care about is women's fishing. That's all I care about. That's what I think about that more than I think about my husband. Sorry, Chris, but when you care about something, you have to have standards, and you have to want what you care about to be better and to evolve into something great. And to have standards means you have to speak up.
Yeah, for change in order for change to happen. The tough discussions have to be had, and someone's got to pioneer that, and someone's got to talk about it, and someone has to address it, or it becomes stagnant. And I think it's a healthy thing to talk about. And there was a lot of really good discussion about this today, through the post and reading the comments. And a lot of people are like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so happy this is going to be talked about," because no one talks about it.
Yeah. I think there's what we have to address is the stereotype, right? There's a stereotype out there of women's fishing. And unfortunately, there are a lot of women who are in the public eye because of social media living up to that stereotype. And they're the ones out there saying, we're not a stereotype, but yet they are living up and doing exactly what that stereotype is.
That's exactly it. And it's harder, then it becomes harder to defy that stereotype, because the majority, I hate to say this, but so many of them out there that have these giant voices in the industry embody that stereotype to a T. And it is frustrating, to say the least.
I can't tell you how many times I get an email or a phone call or a text from companies in the industry involving, it's generally the same women, and they're living up to the stereotype, and it's tough, it's tough.
It's some of the comments coming in. Jareth Kopp just said it's more acceptable for a male to leave the family and fish tournaments all the time. The world we live in would still freak out if the woman leaves the family to fish. It's a sad thing that it's still that way. Do you think that's one of the obstacles that keeps some women from getting involved in this?
Oh, 100%. I had a hater one time. I was on iGlive show, and he commented that I needed to go home and spread my legs.
What?
Forgive me for saying that. Oh, it was
Whoa.
we talked about it when I left.
Wow.
What did you freeze out there? Did I hear that
Wow.
right?
No, your audio was
Yeah,
loud
no,
and
that
clear
was
for
it.
that one.
I'm
No,
pretty
but that's
yeah,
what was said. That
internet
was
came
a
through on
comment.
that
What
one.
I was told is I need to go home, and he said I was doing my husband no good not having babies.
Let me go back to
Doing-
something that Miss Malat was in the. My wife was in the comments earlier, and her comment was men are the worst, and I think she was right with that comment right there. Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty.
I'll tell.
That's pretty.
I went on I5, and Brian the Carpenter told me the same thing when I was on there. I don't know if that relates or not, but very offensive.
But I'll say this: like, the longer I've been out here, the more receptive people have gotten, and the more they, more comfortable I've gotten with a bunch of dudes too. And that's a key part. Like, I'm just fishing, and I have to remind myself that, like, I do run a pink boat, so I stick out a little bit, but I try, like, to blend outside of that, to blend in as much as possible and just keep my head down outside the pink boat.
Kristine, do you have a pink Hobie on the way?
I'll say stay tuned. 2020 summer. Yeah. No, I'm gonna stick with green for now.
Pink
But I do think a lot of women, you've got kids and stuff, and that's something me and Kristine don't have. So we have a little bit of a freedom to travel around and do this, and that's just part of it.
So what about women that
So-
maybe watching this that are just getting into the sport? Would you steer them away from trying to build social media first, build your skills first, and then come with social media, or do it all at the same time?
Build your social media with your skills, like by
all
posting.
at once? Like own your beginner status and build it together?
Yeah.
Own it. Be transparent.
Like, I'm starting, and like your post should journal your journey. Yeah, that sounded stupid, but
No.
you should
Journal your journey. I like it.
That makes more sense. That makes more sense.
Oh
You should
man.
log, your date, what you're doing. Log your journey, put it out there. Dude, that's the one. I have a fan base because I'm so open about what I'm going through. People love that because they identify with it. I 100%, I know the Googans and the YouTubers get hate, but I've always said the reason why they blew up in the beginning was because they didn't know what they were doing, and people could relate because the people watching don't know what they are doing. So it was like a beginner teaching a beginner, even though they didn't admit it. That's what was going on, and I think if more people did that and just accepted I'm a beginner, it'd be better for them in the long run.
You got plenty of experts out there. It's better content to follow the up and comers, I think.
I agree. Just own it. I would love to see content like that.
It's because it's transparent and it's vulnerable, and sometimes when I do my tournament recaps, people like the videos where I don't do very good more than the ones that I have success. When I'm like, wow, that was a stupid decision. Like, why did I do that? People are like, I love that.
They
It means they identify because we're all stupid.
And they learn too. They learn from you, right? And that's a huge part of what the good part of social media is, learning something that you can actually use in life
and apply. Right.
Ryan, I cut you off a minute ago. What were you about to say, buddy?
I have no idea, Jeff. I'm just enjoying it here, man. I lost it, man.
I'm sorry, brother. I got mid-sentence.
It was profound.
Say so. I know. Bring it back.
It was profound. I apologize. I was.
I had to put in there with
I'll write
that
it down
you guys said to me, and it just totally messed the flow up. My bad.
No, you did. We got a lot of great comments coming in. People saying that you, Susie Roloff, Catherine Fields in the comments. Barbara Harris is in the comments. So, that's something else. Do you guys have a female angler role model out there that you've looked up to or has mentored you along the way that you've met out there while you're trying to do this?
I talked, especially not so much last year, but for several years with Christiana Bradley. She used to fish the Eastern Open. She's the highest finishing female in an Open. I think she got 4th on Douglas one year. She's out of Virginia. She's a good person to talk to. She gets it. She just has a career. She works for Geico, and her schedule doesn't let her fish as much. She used to fish the WBT, and then, of course, Pale Martin Wells. I don't know her, but I've read the stories and the stuff about when she went to Lake Fork, gave up everything, and went out to Lake Fork in her early 20s just to fish. And I had mad respect for that, when I was starting.
Yeah, absolutely. Pam Martin Wells is one that I've always kind of, known and read a lot of her stuff. And then, just recently, y'all probably saw Kate Field's video. She came and fished the Lake Fork tournament and caught her personal best 19-inch, and she completely owns being a newbie. But that woman, she traveled, she flew to Georgia, borrowed Ryan's kayak, drove 30 hours to Lake Fork, and competed in her 2 first giant national tournaments by herself. Like, how is that not just, I see me in that, and I see just that inspiring so many other people. And so that's, people that are brand new in the sport have the power to be inspiring. And that, from Kate catching her personal best and hearing that excitement, you can't beat that kind of stuff. That's inspiring every day.
I got mad respect for women who do that, who are just like, dude, I'm going to jump in a tournament and get after it. And if I get my butt whooped, I get my butt whooped. And that's something that I would encourage men, like, not to rip women so hard that are doing that, because they are legit trying. What else do you want from them,
Right.
Trust me, we got plenty of dudes that are trying as well.
and there's plenty of us getting our butt whooped on a regular basis too.
I was trying really hard.
Unfortunately, that comes with the territory.
We all were, Jeff. We all were.
Yeah, we were really trying. It didn't work out, but we were trying.
Lake Fork, the fickle beast.
Ryan, you see that comment from James?
Yeah. So he's wanting to know if you ladies will switch it up, trade if you'll put Kristine in the boat and throw you in a kayak and fish a tournament.
I'm down. Totally.
All right.
I'll throw her the keys to my boat.
Oh boy, Trey, you put a lot of faith in me.
I'll probably sink your kayak, but
I'll probably sink your boat, and that's a little more expensive.
You ever seen Kristine drive? I don't know.
Yeah, she ain't seen my driving record yet, but I'll be good.
I got insurance. Pretty good.
We gonna need it. I got liability only on my kayak, so just take her easy.
That would be awesome to see, though. Get y'all on the other
so
side.
Raph Vargas asked an interesting question. He said, so you've got a new female kayak angler on the scene, and she's contacted by a company to represent them. Is it wrong for her to accept it? I wouldn't think so, but...
No, not at all.
Hey,
dude, I hustled early in my career, right? You can't fault someone for being given an opportunity and taking it at all, People get mad at me because of, the sponsorships I have. I'm not going to turn down an opportunity, I don't blame a woman for that. Now, if a woman is misrepresenting herself, different story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. I do think that women should be selective. I say this a lot. There's a lot of companies that reach out, and when it comes to sponsorships and partnerships, I think it's really smart. Like, we don't want to be collecting them like we would like baseball cards, right? That just gets kind of tacky. I think it's important to really evaluate the company and make sure it's a product that you believe in, that you can get behind, that you know the people, their values, what they stand for. I try to always tell the gals that reach out, don't just step back when it comes to all this stuff and really think about it before jumping on. I learned that the hard way early on. But I don't think it's, women get a lot of opportunities, and it can be a really difficult field to navigate. And like Trey said, there's a lot of jealousy from the guys, that kind of comes with that. They're like, man, I wish I could get this or get that, and insinuating that we got it because we're females. And that sucks for me. And I'm sure it does for Trey too. Like, I'm trying to earn it. I'm working my tail off. I'm putting videos out there. I'm fishing tournaments. I'm putting content out. Like, I'm not, I want to make sure what's coming to me is earned. I know that's really, it's tough sometimes to kind of deal with that, though. I don't know.
I think that it is easier for a female to get their foot through the door initially with a company, but it's harder to actually get sponsorship and grow with that company. Like, they'll give you a discount or maybe some free product, but like in a legit deal, I think it's harder in some,
And I think some of the animosity that comes from men in the industry is they'll see a female angler come in and start doing well, and then they have all these sponsors chasing them down, throwing stuff at them, and this guy's like, I've been tournament fishing for 10 years. I've got 40 wins. She's got one top 10. But I think that kind of causes a lot of it. I think. And I don't think it's right, but I'm saying I think that insecurity, I guess, or I
don't think it's
it is an opportunity thing.
I don't think it's an insecurity with dudes. I think it's that there are a lot of guys that don't understand like companies and it's business, right? There are only so many niches you can fill. There are a lot of dudes that can catch them a lot. There aren't that many females that can catch them, and so they have to meet each niche. And if you're the white Southern dude who can catch them, there's a lot of white Southern dudes who can catch them. You've got to, start bringing in some KVD stats to look different.
You've got different. You have to be different. That's just it. And everything. You have to find a way to set yourself apart.
Like Jim Clark.
Yeah. And you know what?
Like Jim Clark.
How many lady anglers would trade a few? Maybe a few small sponsors for a dude not to walk past them at the boat ramp straight to somebody else to ask them what they're biting on. You know what I mean? So, there's a trade-off there.
Yeah,
there is.
Always. Mm-hmm. There are pros to being a female, and there are cons. One of the cons,
definitely.
Using the restroom on the boat. That's a con. Dudes don't have to. Women have to deal with it,
Oh, boy.
That's true.
I'm just saying. Dudes don't have to have babies, I'll be honest, we had a little bit of a pregnancy scare, a couple months ago, and I had my calendar out counting the months to see when the tournament fell and what.
Oh, gosh.
Running that
I think I can deliver between these two. I should have it down.
That's really the conversation that occurred. Me and Chris are looking at the calendar saying, so it should be right in there, right?
She's looking at the maternity ward at Gunnersville to see if it's highly rated or not.
Uh-huh. Exactly. Pros and cons.
Well, Tanya Booth said fish don't care who's up there fishing, who's holding the pole. That's right.
Yeah. And that's what this game is you against the fish. Just social media has brought another aspect, right? You can't just push product anymore. You got to be genuine. People see through the product pushers now. It's changed that environment. Social media is, exploited, or I guess you would say exploited everything. So social media is good. Our industry needed it.
Yeah.
It's forced us to speak a lot of truths we weren't. No more flying lures and stuff like that,
It exposes a lot of stuff.
It's helped it grow. It's helped it grow. With growth is supply and demand, and I just think that the supply was high for legitimate female anglers, and or not supply, sorry, demand, and the supply necessarily wasn't quite there, and which it resulted in kind of what a lot of our topics were tonight. But like we said, transparency and just owning where you're at, there's definitely a need for that with men and women alike.
Yeah.
And I say there's plenty out there still. There's not a lot of legit female anglers, but there's enough that are still trying to climb that ladder. So, maybe they can use this as some inspiration tonight to try to just keep plugging along and get taken seriously.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Let's see, just because you're a woman does not mean you're supposed to have kids. That just came in from Susie Roloff. That's true. You don't have to. Let's see.
My husband really wants kids right now, though.
Yeah. Angie Scott, only associate with companies you truly believe in and have a real relationship with. That's true for anybody, not just female anglers.
Angie Scott's a good one. Sure. She's solid.
Yeah, and Angie's she's awesome.
Yeah, if you guys are watching, keep throwing the comment or questions out there. We've got these two for a little bit longer. We'll try to get the questions to them as fast as we can see them. Something that you just released, just been a whole month or so ago, Kristine, is the women's fishing experience. It's going to come back around in 2020.
It is.
You want to touch on that for a minute?
Yeah. So I don't know the date because I can't remember the date. It's in September. I know that. Someone can probably comment when it is, but it's going to be really big this year. That was kind of a neat deal. We had 52 women from all over the United States come to that, and a lot of the gals I know watching attended last year. Susie's helping me out. She was incredible. Amanda Brannon, Holly from California, Heather from Maine, Kathy from Georgia. It's going to be a really good event, and Kate Field from Utah is going to be there. We had a lot, and a couple of the guys, Garrett Morgan, I know, came from Arkansas and helped me put on these classes. But that was such an impactful way to kind of not only give back, but to encourage and share and kind of, lift each other up in this whole thing, no matter where we're coming from, no matter what experience levels or what our goals are. And this at Lake Fork, the result of that, we had the most women at a national event that we've ever had. I think there were 9 of them at Fork. That's huge. And half of them came to that event, and I think that we're hoping that we've heard that number is going to double. I think we'll have like 100 women coming to that event this year. So it's a great thing. I hope you guys can check it out. We have our page. Chase Tanner just made us look cool with a new graphic, which is awesome. Amanda's got all the info on that. Like I said, I'm not the planner. I just teach the classes. Someone probably put the date down there, but I hope all the gals listening, I hope a lot of them can make it. It's a great event. There were a lot of laughs, a lot of tears. Thanks, Garrett, at this last one. So it'll be. I hope everyone can make that out. And everybody cried. I was bawling my eyes out. It was terrible. Garrett cried. Garrett was crying. Oh my gosh, it was great. It was great.
G-Money. He's sensitive.
Yeah, I know.
He's sensitive, man.
Yeah, he got that.
Susie commented it's September 24th to the 28th. Susie
I was wrong. Okay, that's right.
And it's back in Missouri, right?
Yeah, Branson, Table Rock is going to be our host this year, which is going to be nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. Table Rock, it's a whole beautiful area up there. Pretty central to the U.S., for everybody to get to. So that'd be good.
What are the dates? September 28th?
24th through the 28th. Yeah, it's like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
The KBN live MVP Katie Backus dropping the links in there right now. She's in there.
She's always on top of it.
Yeah. Every time. I don't know how. She's like a mind reader with them links. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's got your website and the Facebook event in there already. Good job, Katie. Appreciate you.
She's awesome.
Yeah. So, 2020 is really just getting started. What about y'all have coming up, tournament-wise?
I got Louisville. I'm going to the Classic, obviously. And then I got Louisville as my next one. It's an open right down the street from my house, which is good.
Yeah. You going to work the floor at the Classic?
That is nice and close.
Yeah, I got to work. I've got like 3 hours, I think, each day with like Skeeter and Yamaha and Carhartt. But I try and be a wife too. I try and balance it, So
a lot of people.
It gets a little interesting because I got a dog too that rolls with me. He'll be there in the booth with me.
A lot of people put money on Chris for this one.
Don't say that. I'm not listening.
How did you two meet?
We met at Table Rock. Well, he was messaging me before that for months, and I wasn't responding. Totally.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, was he one of the creeps in the
Boy,
DMs?
we've heard this story a time or two.
Yeah, he was a creep in the DM. And then, so I was fishing an open, my second open at Table Rock, and he rolls up on the dock like, "Hi, I'm Chris Zaldain," like he was somebody. And I was like, "Who? And he's like, I've been sending you messages." And so then I went home. He had a really good smile, and he's cute. So I went back to the cabin and looked in my DMs and found him. And I responded. And then we
you left the boy unread the whole time? Come on now. What?
Look, I honest to God, he's the only fisherman I've ever dated, ever. I just, was not looking for a fisherman,
That was going to be my next question. Was that a quality you had your eye on?
No, not at all. I just wanted to fish, and believe it or not, we talked for months, and I just kept him in the friend zone, would never meet up with him, and then he's like, I'll come down to Texas, and we actually met at Lake Louisville, and I told him, okay, I'll meet you there, and I took my own boat, and I took my cousin with him and didn't tell him, and showed up to this date set up with my cousin, just in case I needed that.
Man.
Yeah.
So, Kristine, what you got? You're going to be at Logan Martin next week, right? You're competing.
Yep. I'll be competing at Logan Martin with the 260 however many people are going to be there, and maybe Lake Fork after that for the second BASS one.
You're coming
Maybe
back
do
down?
two of those in a row. I might do it. Yeah.
Oh.
Maybe try to get some vengeance there
That's what
on
I'm
that
saying.
stupid lake.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I left there thinking about
I
going
think
back
we're
to golf.
selling tickets. We're selling tickets in the parking lot for Logan Martin. So make sure and get your pass early so you can unload on time.
Hey, y'all, comment on something. Both of y'all, because I've never been there, and I've been on the Google Maps. Where are all the freaking ramps? There's not that many. Doesn't look like.
There's 16 total public, and that includes public pull-off launch sites. So do the math, Jeff. 16 divided by 240, or 240 the other way around. You get what I'm saying? It's gonna be a lot of people.
I can imagine
Wait a minute,
that probably half of those are the good ramps too. I don't know.
Yeah, probably half are good. I would assume.
Some
I
of
don't
them
know.
are pretty blown out. I mean, the water's been up.
Water's
pretty high. A lot
up
of them
and
have a lot of
moving.
debris and stuff.
Yeah, it should be interesting. How about that? I've been checking the lake levels, and it's down. It's like they're bringing it up, down, depending on the.
No, I mean they're running it through as fast as they can. There's so much water upriver, and it's supposed to rain. I don't know if you look at the forecast.
Yeah.
It's supposed to rain all week next week.
Yeah, that'll be-
Yep. All week.
Get ready.
It's going to be fun, but we'll hang around the class a few days and recover. Won't have a tournament going on the weekend for once, so we can actually maybe hang out and visit a little bit. So
Are all you guys going to be at the Classic?
yeah, we're going to come find you. I'm going to come find you and shake your hand at the Classic, Trey.
I'm going to be hiding in a corner somewhere.
What?
I'm not very
Just
social.
make sure and DM her first.
Okay.
Nope.
No. Well, this was an awesome interview tonight. We've been on here dang near an hour. I don't want to keep y'all all night long. You probably need to get some rest before we start grinding again with these tournaments coming up. But is there anything else y'all want to touch on before we get out of here? Anything else you want to notify anyone about events coming up or anything like that?
I just want to say, for the women that are watching, if you ever have any questions that I can help on, feel free to reach out. I love to help other women, especially women who just don't understand, who are overwhelmed and stuff. So if I come off like I'm anti-female, I'm not at all, and don't be afraid to reach out to me.
Yeah, I'll echo that and say, anytime anyone's ever reached out, I'll always help. I love sharing what works for me, what tournaments. I'll take the gals fishing. I'll show them exactly what they need to do. And I want everyone to succeed here. It's not just about Trey or I. We're very supportive of women in general, pushing down these barriers and kind of making some changes in this industry for sure.
That's awesome. Ryan? I know. Do we want to talk about before we get out of here tonight the decision you made?
I think we probably should. Yeah, we probably should touch on that a little bit. Obviously, it's been a crazy week in kayak fishing. I don't know. I'm not in a hurry to relive this one by a long shot. The big topic on KBN has been the measuring board. What they call it, FlexGate or what?
Yeah.
2020. I saw it named. I don't know, man. I mean, the whole thing sucks. From top to bottom, there's not a good spin you can put on it. Going to one board, I think, is probably the best idea. Going to the catch board, you don't have to worry about people trying to manipulate anything. I mean, I guess if you're a really good welder, you could try to modify one, but I just want to say to everybody, no matter who you are, or if you think you're a big name in the sport or not, you got to hold yourself to a high standard. Like if you're doing something that you think might be questionable, just don't do it. And that can be with anything. I mean, pull up to a beaver pond and see a bass chasing some bait back there. You can't slide over into it. Like you have to kind of be cognizant of what's happening and who's watching, because I mean, this whole thing I know has been unpleasant for the Hobie staff. And I feel like it's a situation that probably could have been avoided altogether with a little forethought put into it.
So what happened?
Oh, girl.
Okay, I was gonna
let's take you back.
So we measure fish on a board, on a big long board.
Plastic board.
Yeah. So there are two kinds. There's a plastic one and there's a metal one. When did the aluminum one come out? 2 years ago.
A couple years ago, yeah.
Yeah, so the plastic one is made of plastic, which is very flexible. Uh-huh. So, due to the positioning of this board, if you flex on it pretty hard, you can gain a quarter inch or a half inch on a fish, on measuring a fish. So there was a Hobie camera boat that was on an angler in a tournament, and one of the photos that came out, I think it was Mondays when I saw it. I was in Dallas with Duke Tran and Matthew Scotch. We were having dinner, and all of a sudden our phones just like catch on fire because this, I guess it had been circulating around some of the Texas clubs, but it burned up the internet, and it's been a huge topic of conversation. And Hobie just made their ruling on it today. Basically, there's no fault on the angler, they're saying, but they're never going to use those boards again. So I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. I know a lot of people were kind of suggesting some different things, like have the angler take a polygraph to determine the intent of, this being a violation. There wasn't a rule in place necessarily saying do not push down on the board. Yeah. However, there was a rule in place that, referred to ethics and how you conduct yourself. So I think that's what I'm saying. If you think you're close to the line, like the gray area, get out of it. Like just do what you know is the right thing, and don't put yourself in a position to where something like this could blow up. I mean, we're trying to grow this. We're trying to get better. These tournament series, we're finally getting some big attention. Bass stepping up and doing a kayak trail this year. That's huge. That's huge. This is a terrible time to have, some big scandal. And it's a lot more work for the tournament directors. Like, we've had to go through in Tennessee, we've had to go through and rewrite all the rules, like now, immediately. I know KBF's done the same thing. Hobie's done the same thing. I mean, it's all, it's all off of one avoidable incident.
Yeah, it's kind of
growing pains.
Yeah, when the guy cut the fish's tail off, there wasn't a rule against it, but once they break the damn rule, you gotta rewrite it. So and this wasn't even a broken written rule. It was just like you said. It's a sportsmanship. I pointed it back to being kind of like the New England Patriots in football. They're always pushing the edge, even though they shouldn't. Maybe the Houston Astros in baseball, stealing signs electronically, even though stealing signs is a thing. I mean, if you know you shouldn't do it, don't do it, and we don't get to this problem. So now, do we know, any of us know, if he meant to do that? No, we don't, but it just, why put yourself there where you're facing the judgment of so many people? And trade, if you don't kayak fish, you don't understand, but these boards, when you measure a fish in a bass boat, you probably slap that thing on a check-it stick or whatever on the floor, flat. And a lot of people in kayaks do the same thing, but this one in particular, the end of it was propped up on the side. With,
it's pushing on it.
Yeah, with air between the tank well and the board, and it got flexed. I mean, in some pictures it looked 90 degree flexed, which I was impressed because I didn't think they could bend like that. If you want to know, I thought it would snap in half.
I learned a lot about the hog trough in the last 3 days. There's a lot of videos, a lot of tests and graphics. I mean, it was really good. Yeah, and now we're not going to use them anymore. So.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if y'all knew this, but there's a bunch of people on Kayak Bass Nation that are like physicists and scientists and engineers that know what's
and that's another thing. Like, when people are going through stuff like this, like I don't want to say it was just stressful on the tourney guys as far as the directors go. I know it's stressful on Ron too, and we all, like, a lot of us know Ron. He travels with us. He's one of us. Like, he's hanging out with us all the time. Don't just come on here because you have a keyboard in front of you and feel like it's your job to rip somebody or I mean, this this is just as stressful for him as it is everybody else. And I'm not saying that this could have been avoided, but he's still a person. Like, you got to kind of keep that. Keep that
our kayak community, like, I regard us as like a big family, and I'm gonna tell you right now that this has felt nothing like a family for days, and that I can speak for myself and a few of the other people in my tight circle, but this hasn't really felt that good for a while, and I'm not really proud of any of it from anybody right now.
And I can tell you
I'll say that.
It seems like, especially on the social media blow-ups, I'm going to call them the traveling tournament regulars, the people that you always see out on the road. I didn't see too many. I saw one guy that really bothered me that went in on Ron on there, but most of the people I've seen that really got sideways and inappropriate, I don't really recognize their names, and I haven't seen them out on the tournament scene very much. But a few people that kind of made shocking comments about the whole thing, and I hated to see that. But I think it'll end up being a learning experience for us. But right now it's just tough times, and we're going to have to get through it.
We'll be all right, but keep your head on a swivel. Make sure you're not doing anything that might be misconstrued. I don't want to go through any of this mess again, preferably.
No. Susie Roloff said everybody just has a real bad case of cabin fever and just needs to go fishing.
Amen.
What did Randy say? He said there's families fight sometimes. That's true, man. It happens. So we can come through this and be okay. But you guys have anything else? And we'll wrap this thing up and get us out of here for the night. Awesome discussion tonight. I mean, that was amazing.
Thank y'all for coming on. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, and hey, if you guys are going to hear this on the podcast later, help us out on the podcast and give us a little review over on iTunes to help this thing grow. But hey, we're going to wrap it up. Once again, thank you all for watching, and thank you, Kristine and Trey, for coming on here. Ryan, my man, we'll see you at Logan Martin here in a few days.
All right, be careful, man. See y'all.
Yeah.